On January 13, 1993, police were led to a concrete cover hidden beneath a building on a Long Island property. Below it was a narrow passage and a soundproof room. Inside, they found 10-year-old Katie Beers alive. She had been missing since December 28, held underground by the family friend who had helped report her disappearance. How could a child be hidden so close to the people looking for her? And what finally made her captor reveal where she was? Katie Beers lived on Long Island, New York. Her childhood was unstable long before her abduction. Years later, Katie spoke publicly about neglect and abuse in the adults around her life. That context matters, but this is not a story that reduces her to what was done to her. It is a story about a child who survived, and about the moment a carefully built hiding place stopped working. John Esposito was known to Katie's family. To Katie, he was Uncle John, a family friend who gave attention and gifts. That familiarity lowered the defenses that would normally protect a child from a stranger. It also made the crime harder for investigators to see at first. On December 28, 1992, 2 days before Katie's 10th birthday, Esposito took her out. He later claimed that she disappeared during a trip to a video arcade. But police came to believe that story was invented. Katie had not vanished into the night. She had been taken to Esposito's property in Bay Shore. At first, the case carried all the uncertainty of a missing child investigation. The public did not know whether Katie had wandered away, been taken by a stranger, or was being held somewhere nearby. Detectives had to sort through accounts from people who knew her, reconstruct the final hours of her day, and decide which details were real and which had been staged. One claimed clue was a phone message in which Katie supposedly described being taken by a man with a knife. Investigators later concluded the recording did not fit the story it was meant to support. The absence of the expected background noise raised questions about when and where it had been made. It was a small technical detail, but cases can turn on exactly that kind of detail: a voice, a tape, a timeline that does not quite hold together. There was a hidden route beneath a structure on the property. A heavy concrete cover concealed the entrance. Beyond it was a tunnel leading to a cramped room. Reporting from the time described a small, insulated space equipped with basic utilities and a television system. It had been designed to keep sound in and suspicion out. For Katie, the room was not simply hidden. It was isolating. Later accounts describe a coffin-sized enclosure within the space, and a chain used to restrain her. We will not linger on the abuse she endured. The essential fact is that a 9-year-old child was held there against her will, cut off from the world above her. Outside, a massive search began. Katie was a child, and the case drew intense attention across Long Island. Family members, neighbors, police officers, and volunteers had one question: where had she gone? But the person at the center of the initial disappearance story was still near the investigation. That is one of the case's most unsettling details. News reports later said officers had watched Esposito's property. Yet the hiding place had been constructed to defeat a casual search. A heavy cover, a concealed access route, and insulation made the underground room difficult to detect. Katie could not simply call out and expect someone above to hear her. The construction itself tells part of the story. This was not an ordinary locked bedroom or a place visible from the street. The entrance was covered, the route below ground was indirect, and the small room was separated from everyday life above it. A person could stand on the property and have no idea that a child was being held beneath it. That physical design made the search more difficult, but it also became crucial evidence after the rescue. The days passed. December became January. The public knew a child was missing, but not that she was beneath a familiar property. In later recollections, Katie described trying to endure the uncertainty one day at a time. She was not given a reliable answer about when she would go home. The person who had taken her controlled the space, the information, and the exit. For a search team, time is never neutral. Every day without a confirmed location can mean evidence fading, leads multiplying, and a family living with a different kind of fear. The case also exposed the danger of assuming that a known adult is automatically a safe adult. Esposito was not an unknown face at the edge of the story. he was woven into it. That does not mean investigators simply ignored him. He was questioned, and the disappearance account was examined. But the case shows why an apparently cooperative person can still shape an investigation around a false version of events. When the person providing information is also concealing the crime, detectives are forced to test every statement against evidence rather than familiarity. The contrast between the public search and the hidden room was brutal. Above ground were search efforts, news reports, and people trying to locate a missing child. Below ground was a space built to prevent discovery. The tension in this story is not created by a mystery invented afterward. It comes from the documented fact that the answer was physically close, yet deliberately concealed. Then, more than 2 weeks after Katie disappeared, the case changed direction. On January 13, Esposito admitted that he knew where she was. He led authorities to the concealed entrance on his property. The rescue was the moment the story the public had been told collapsed. Officers opened the hidden access and found Katie alive. Contemporary reporting differed in whether it called the period 16 or 17 days, depending on how the dates were counted. What is not disputed is that she had been missing since December 28 and was found on January 13. She was taken for medical evaluation. The Nation saw the headline, "A missing child had been found alive in a secret underground room." But being found did not instantly erase what came before. Katie still faced the difficult work of recovery, and the adults around her had to confront the failures that had left her vulnerable. It is important to describe the rescue carefully. Police did not discover the room through a lucky excavation or a dramatic last-minute clue. Esposito directed them to it after admitting that he knew where Katie was. That is why the rescue has two powerful, connected facts: the hiding place was sophisticated enough to delay discovery, and the person who built it ultimately exposed it. Esposito was charged, and in 1994 he pleaded guilty to kidnapping. Reporting on the plea said he admitted that he had planned the abduction. He received a sentence of 15 years to life. The legal case established his responsibility for taking and imprisoning Katie. It did not turn her experience into a neat ending. Katie was placed in foster care after the rescue. Years later, she chose to tell more of her own story in interviews and in her memoir, Buried Memories. Her decision to speak matters because it shifts the focus from the bunker and its builder to the person who lived through it. For viewers, the lasting image may be the concrete cover and the passage underground. But Katie's later life is the more meaningful conclusion. She built a family, spoke about survival in her own words, and resisted being defined only by a crime committed when she was a child. Telling the case responsibly means keeping that distinction clear: the crime belongs to the offender, the story of survival belongs to Katie. That perspective also changes the final question. The headline version of this case is easy to summarize: a girl was found underground after 17 days. The fuller story is about a child who survived a betrayal by someone trusted, then had to build a life beyond the crime. The bunker was designed around silence. It relied on the idea that the world above would never look in exactly the right place. But it failed. Katie Beers was found alive, and the hidden room became evidence of the crime instead of its protection. If this story stayed with you, continue the survival series with the case of Elizabeth Smart, another abduction in which a victim's survival and return home changed what seemed possible.